So welcome back. In this video, we will talk about in detail about what we covered in the previous video. As you recall, in the previous video, I showed you this program and I showed you this program running both in a web-based IDE as well as in Visual Studio Code. Now, this program that I demonstrated in the previous video contains a bunch of instructions. So as I promised, I'm going to dive deep into this program and explain to you how many instructions are there in this program, what each instruction is used for, how to use this instruction, so on and so forth. One of the first instruction that we'll talk in this is print instruction. So print instruction is basically used for displaying something back to the user, right? So I'll explain to you what is this print instruction. Next, I'll explain what is input instruction. So the input instruction is used to collect something from the user and store it in a memory cell, right? So these are the two examples of the input instructions. Next one is memory cells. Memory cells, what are the memory cells and how the data collected from the user is stored into the memory cells and how you can make use of these memory cells for calculation purposes, so on and so forth. So that's what we'll talk about in this video. So now let's go back and dive deep into this program over here and see how it works, what are the different instructions, how to use them, so on and so forth. Okay, so we are back in Visual Studio. This is the program that I had run yesterday. Before I explain to you, let me run this program one more time and take you through what are the outputs, right? So right now, I started running this program by clicking on this run button. So it's asking, what's your name? I'll type John, John, and it's asking, enter the first number, let's say 34, enter the second number, 16, and it displayed your name is John, the total of two numbers is 50, right? So remember, this program contains a bunch of instructions. As we recall, a program is a collection of instructions to the computer, okay? So a set of instructions to the computer. So it contains a bunch of instructions. And the very first instruction here is, and what's your name? So this is an input instruction that I was talking to you about. So what does the input instruction do is it displays the message, whatever the message that you have enclosed within the double quotes, it displays the message and it waits for the user to enter something. Let's say I type Susan. So when I type Susan and press enter, now Susan, whatever the user typed over here, goes into this memory cell called name. So I have drawn this memory cell called name. It should not be name one, it should be name. So here, Susan goes over here into that memory cell. Now, what is the computer doing? Computer is executing or running this instruction at this moment. So what does this instruction says? Display this message and collect a number from the user. When you wrap it around with int, that means collect a number from the user and store that number into this memory cell here. So let's say I'm going to type 20, right? And press enter. Now what happened? The number 20 got stored into that variable or memory cell called num1. So num1 goes into this memory cell. Now the computer moves on to the next instruction. Remember what I said? The computer executes the instruction from the top line all the way to the bottom line in this particular order here. Right now, the computer is executing this instruction. What does this instruction say? Display this message as it is within the double quotes here, as it is, and then whatever the user types in response to this, store that number into that memory cell. So the user is going to type, let's say 30. Now 30 goes into this memory cell called num2. Now, the next instruction, this instruction is basically a calculation instruction. Remember, there are three types of instructions that we are introducing in this program. One is input instruction. Instruction is used to collect something from the user. Other one is a calculation instruction where you are telling computer to do some calculations. And the third one is a print instruction that we're going to talk about pretty soon. So here, right now, the computer did this calculation instruction. And what does this calculation instruction says that take what is in num1, again, go back to here, what is in num1, 20, and take what is in num2, which is 30, and add them up because of the plus sign, add them up and store the result into this. So basically you are saying take what is here, add them up and store the result into that cell over here, into this cell called total. So after adding these two, the result will be stored in this cell called total 50, right? And that's what it does. That's what this instruction does. The next instruction is print instruction. So the print instruction says print this message along with what is in this memory cell. One more time, the print instruction here is saying display this message here as it is along with what is in this memory cell, right? So what is in that memory cell called name? What do you have here? Susan. So that's what it's doing here. It's displaying this message along with what is in this memory cell. Name has the value Susan. So basically what it's doing, it's taking Susan and adding Susan to the end of this message, and that's what you see here. So this plus sign here means take what is in this memory cell, add it to this message here, and display them together. And that's what you see here at the bottom here. So the next instruction is a similar one. This is also a print instruction. What it's saying is display this message, it's displaying as it is, and to this message, combine or add whatever is in this memory cell here. So what is in this memory cell? 50. So now that's what it says. Take what is in this memory cell and add that to the end of this message here and display it here. So that's what you see here. The total of two numbers he entered here is 50. Now, there are a few things that you need to understand here. STR. Why do we need to do this STR? Remember, STR is necessary because what is inside this cell is a number, which is a value 50, right? So you want to attach that number to the end of this string. Basically, this is called a string. Anything within the double quotation is a string. So now you want to attach a number to a string. You cannot do that without using str. Str here converts, basically what it converts is it takes what is this number, converts that into a string, which is a text, and joins that string to the end of this string. And that's what you see here. The total of two numbers we entered is 50. So that's what basically we ran through this program, and that's how this program works. So we learned about a few instructions. One is input. What is the input used for? It is used to collect data from the user. The user is going to type some data over here, and whatever the data that the user types arrives into this memory cell or gets stored into that memory cell. Again, what does this input instruction do? It is used to display this message and collect something from the user. Whatever you collect from the user, convert that into a number. If you don't convert that into a number, it remains as a text or a string, even though the user is typing a number here. So here, again, we're using the input, and what you're saying is display this message, collect another piece of data, and store that data into that memory cell. When we ran this program, in response to this instruction, the user typed 20 over here, and that 20 got stored into that memory cell here, num1. And moving on, the next is basically what you're saying here is display this message, collect another piece of data, convert that into a number, and store that into num2. And that's what got stored into num2 over here. Then the next instruction is a calculation instruction. So what this instruction says is take what is in this memory cell, which is 20, add it with what is in this memory cell, which is 30, and then store the result into that memory cell. So if I take this quickly and explain to you how this works, So in this type of calculation instruction, this is the calculation instruction, right? So this is how it works. It does this calculation and stores the result into that memory cell. And pay attention, this is the equal sign here, right? And what is the right side of the equal sign and what is the left side of the equal sign? Whatever on the left side of the equal sign is always a destination. Always remember, what is the right side of the equal sign is some calculation, and what is the left side of the equal sign is a destination. So here you are saying, take what is here, what is here. So what is in num1? 20. What is in num2? 30. So it adds them together and stores the result into that memory cell. So that will be the value 50 over here. And that's what this instruction is. And the next instruction is print. Print, as we just explained, it is used to display the message, combine that message with whatever is in that memory cell by using the plus sign. And the next one is also a print instruction, which displays this message and combine that message with whatever is in this memory cell. Since this memory cell is a number, this memory cell contains a number, you need to convert that number into a string so that you can join that string to the end of this string, thus resulting in something that looks like this. So here you are not doing str here. Why? It is not necessary. The name contains the string itself. You don't need to convert this into a string again. So here str is not necessary. Whereas here it is necessary because you want to take what is in this. What is in this is a number. You want to convert that into a string and join that string to the end of this message. And then this is what is the result of all that. So again, one more time, what does this instruction do? It displays this message and collects something from the user. And whatever comes in from the user, whatever the user has typed, is it feeds that into this function. We'll talk about these functions later on. Whatever comes in from the user, whatever the user has typed over here, it converts that into integer. Int stands for integer, a number, and stores that into that memory cell. So always pay attention to a few things here. In this input, it's very important. Whatever you want to display must be within the double quotes here. If you miss this double quote, see, it complains. Again, whatever you want to put within the double quote here will be displayed as it is here, you see. So if I put some more spaces here, something like this, and if I put some more spaces, I saved it. Let's try running it one more time. Now you see, what's your name? I got some spaces here. So let's say John. Enter the first number. Again, I got spaces because I put spaces over here. 30, 20. Your name is John. Your name is John. So if I put a semicolon there, and when I run it next time, you will see semicolon there. And the total of 2 number you entered because of the spaces over here, you see you've got the spaces. So anything that you put within the double quote will be displayed as it is. And don't forget, the instruction input starts with input, left parenthesis, whatever in the double quotes here, and then closing parenthesis. If you miss the closing parenthesis here, then it's complaining here, right? Was not enclosed. So same thing here. This is the input. So if I miss typing that, if I remove that here, it complains, right? It's saying it's missing the closing parenthesis. So all of these have to match. You make one little mistake, then it won't work. Let's try to remove that and then try to run it. See here, syntax error, this was never closed. So be careful there. When we introduce new instructions, pay attention to the syntax. These are called syntax rules. So if I miss a double quote here, try to run it, you see here, unterminated string literal. This, you never terminated this string here. This is the beginning of the string and you need to terminate, that is the end of the string. Unterminated. Again, all of these types of errors are called syntax errors. Syntax error means every instruction has some rule and you forgot to follow the rule. And your name here, print, let's say you forgot double quote here, right away it highlights here, then it won't work. Unterminated string literal. So you need to put the double quotes. So every instruction has some rules. The input has input followed by left parenthesis, followed by closing parenthesis. Within this, display whatever the message that you want to display, right? And print, same thing. Print, left parenthesis, and whatever the message that you want to display. And if you want to join this message with the contents of a memory cell, then you specify that memory cell along with a plus sign. Then it takes what is in this memory cell, joins that to the end of this message. So let's say, yeah, this is another variation of a print instruction. Hello there, welcome. Save it and run it. Hello there, welcome. Again, this is just a print instruction, and whatever I put within the double quote will be displayed as it is. So I hope that is clear. We went through the first program. We learned about two instructions here, three instructions. One is the input instruction. How does the input instruction works? Input followed by left parenthesis, type whatever you want to display there, and then closing parenthesis. How does the print instruction works? Print followed by left parenthesis and whatever the message that you want to display, and then close the parenthesis. And then this is the calculation instruction. How does the calculation instruction work? Do the calculation, take the result of the calculation, store it into that memory cell. And so again, three different types of instruction. What is the print instruction used for? Again, to display a message to the user. What is the input instruction used for? To collect something from the user. So here it's right now, it's waiting for a user to type something. Again, input instruction is used for to collect something from the user. That's what input instruction is used. And calculations instructions always are used to do some calculations. And when you do a calculation, you need to store that into another memory cell. So we talked about output instruction, we talked about input instruction, we also talked about calculation instruction. In this video, you learned about these memory cells. Here, this is a memory cell. You give a name for that memory cell called num1, another memory cell called num2, another memory cell called total. You can have in your program as many memory cells as you want. There is no limitation. However, these memory cells have some rules. You cannot name a memory cell with a space in it, right? You cannot start a memory cell with a number, something like that. So there are some rules there, and we're going to cover about those rules in the next video. So one more thing is that we've been using the term memory cell, but the technical term is variables. These are called variables. And I will be using the word memory cell, but later on I will be using the word variables more often than memory cell. So in the next video, we'll talk about the rules of memory cells. Every memory cell has some rules, how these memory cells have to be named, what is allowed, what is not allowed. So that we cover in the next video. That's about rules about the memory cells, also called variables. So we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.